Shiva here, and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. Before we go to the interview, I wanted to let you know that my course Storytelling with Color and Light is now available for you at artsideoflife.com/color. I designed the course for beginner and intermediate artists, breaking the big topic of color and light into smaller parts to help you understand the main concept so you can make your artworks appealing and believable. So check it out at artsideoflife.com/color. And now let's go back to the interview. My guest today is Cameron Knight. Cameron is full-time freelance illustrator known for drawing comics. Currently he's working on own comic called Cliques, which follows four best friends as they navigate through life and living in a city where 90% of the population use weapons called Saber edges. And now, please welcome Cameron and let's go to the interview. So welcome everyone to the next episode of Outside of Life, and I'm super happy to have Cameron here. Hi!
Hey, what's up?
So thank you so much for joining, and let's just dive in right away to your background, and let's talk about maybe some stories from your childhood. And maybe I would like to start with a fun question. Sometimes I do how do your childhood smelled like?
All right, so as far as art background when I was a child, actually kind of started fairly early. I think I was like 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, my older brother always drew, and I would just steal his sketchbook and I would draw in there, like whatever he drew, I would just try to copy it.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, I think I still have it, like one of his old sketchbooks. That's like the only one I have, and it's like super big, and it has like torn papers in there. It's probably at least like 20 something years old, and I would just copy in there. Drawing whatever he drew. He doesn't draw really at all anymore. But
so you took over, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of took the mantle, you know what I'm saying? But I would steal his sketchbooks, and sometimes I would take it to school, and I would just like I said, imitate and try to sketch and draw whatever he drew in the sketchbook. And then I remember it was kind of like the stars aligned, because one day I drew this picture of Goofy. I think it was like Goofy and Mickey Mouse or something like that. And my dad saw it, and he was like, "You drew this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, I think I was like 7 or 8, and he didn't believe that I drew it. He was like, "You traced this?" And I was like, "No, I drew this." And I think he still has it. And back then, I mean, I guess from my age, it was pretty good. So after that, I mean, I was kind of drawing every day. I didn't actually go to like school or anything like that. Like my brother did. My older brother did at the time. Like I said, he was really good, and he went to like I think it was like a not performing art school, but it was like a art middle school or something like that. Where they actually had to like take a test to get in. But I didn't do that. I wanted to, but I was just like too young or whatever. But so as far as until then, I just kind of kept drawing.
So how did you then decide, okay, I want to take this more seriously? Or how was the conversation either with your friends or parents? Like, I'm going to do art.
It kind of, that's a long story. Yeah, so I was always drawing. Like through the years, I just continued to draw. When I went to high school, I actually got into graphic design, because for my parents, I mean, to just be an artist, it was just kind of like they really didn't get that, and probably just thought that I really wouldn't be able to make a living. So I got into graphic design, and from there I was doing programs like Photoshop and like Illustrator and stuff like that, because it can kind of, I guess, be more commercial, making like flyers and banners and pamphlets and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what we were doing in college, but we weren't really drawing anything. It was all just kind of like marketing, which it's still important to learn and to know.
But if you don't want to do it, that's useless.
Yeah. Exactly. So I actually wanted to draw. So eventually, I eventually just kind of dropped out of college, as far as doing the graphic design. I mean, granted, the only one thing it did help me, was able to learn these programs, like I said, like Photoshop and Illustrator. And like I said, I was still drawing throughout the years. Yeah. I'd get in trouble in school because I wasn't paying attention. I was drawing on my homework or something like that. So I was still drawing, and wanting to always like develop stories and draw comics or something along those lines. And it wasn't until I actually got involved in like a Facebook group, and I met a couple of good friends that I'm still friends with today, and they kind of like inspired me to kind of like trying to take it a little bit more serious. And then my brother always was on top of me. He's kind of like he's a person that kind of never like holds back and says like exactly what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And he told me like to kind of like always take it seriously and like use this time that you have right now while you're in high school. He would always tell me, he's like, you don't got bills, you have nothing to worry about. You have all the time. He's like, do it right now. He's like, because when you get older, you graduate, and you got to take care of bills and all this other stuff. It's going to be a lot harder to do what you want. I didn't listen to him. So, yeah, I wasted a lot of time. But yeah, so fast forward, I was working at a juvenile detention center for like bad kids. And, I was still drawing a lot, and I slowly like a couple years before that, I had started an Instagram, particularly for my art, and that was slowly growing. I would get commissions and stuff like that. Slowly, steadily, it was coming in. Of course, not enough to like quit my job, because I'm also I'm married, so I also have like bills and stuff like that. I have a wife and everything, so I never fully took that risk to kind of like just go out there and just go for it. And I got an opportunity to illustrate a couple children's books that and the money was pretty good, and I kind of just used it as an opportunity to be like, all right, I'm either gonna do this or not do this, and I quit my job, and I've been doing freelance illustration and a little bit of comic work here and there, and working on my own stuff and my own brands ever since. So it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, because then it's always like a big change, right? So like from being employed and then doing it on your own. So is there something you wish you knew, about like being like kind of like a business owner, right? So you're running your own like business. So
that's been the biggest change, is learning that side. It's like, because you're like, I feel like for a lot of artists, we have that mentality of like just being an artist and drawing and everything and doing it for the art and doing it for the love, but you gotta learn, especially if you want it to be something where it's your full-time job, you have to learn that business side. And that side, man, I wish I would have took more time to like learn, because there's a lot to it, like you said, you even mentioned before, with like marketing and doing taxes and all of that stuff, which I still, the taxes part is still.
And in every country is different, so if you move around, then you're like, whoa.
Exactly. That part's like super hard. Like I still don't understand that. So that's the part I'm kind of learning now, and I wish I kind of knew maybe toward the beginning, but like you kind of learn as you go, so.
So what are the maybe like resources you use, or you ask like friends or someone who already does this, like how to do the business side of your artistic career?
Again, my brother, my brother's a very big inspiration for me, and kind of has always been that like kind of go-to person as far as like whenever I need help with something. Him and his wife, they run their own business and they own their own business, so he would always kind of like help me from like, and giving me more of an outside perspective and not just always thinking about my audience as far as like my world, and kind of giving me that like just that everyday consumer kind of perspective, and trying to keep that in my head. So like he definitely helped me a lot when it came to like the business side of things, and using programs like I use QuickBooks for to help with like my taxes and stuff like that. That's been really helpful. I usually use PayPal as well for like my transactions, so it helps me get I can always keep like a good record for the most part. Stuff like that. And then like sometimes just honestly just YouTube videos. It's like
it's like how to, and then you find it.
That's helped a lot. It's helped a lot.
That's true.
Google. Definitely. So.
And when we are talking also about the business side, how do you build your income streams? Maybe what is the biggest part? Is it still illustration, some like books, or selling your own products, or commissions? So how do you combine, like, what are the types?
Right now it's mainly most of my income definitely comes from commissions and stuff like that. So usually I get commissions through like Instagram, Facebook as well. and slowly Twitter, like when it was, of course, like when it first started. I mean, Twitter is pretty old now, but when it first started, I wasn't really like on it like that. I wish I was, because man, I've found so many like amazing artists on there. So I kind of wish I was like more on top of it back when it first came out. But Instagram has always been the one I've been on mainly. So I get most of my commissions and stuff like that come through Instagram. And so like Instagram, and recently I launched an online store, which has mainly been dedicated to a comic that I've been working on for a little while. So I've been selling merch on there. So that's been another stream of revenue. And I definitely want to get more into like streaming and doing things like that. So like that's kind of like future plans that I have in mind.
Oh, that's super cool. So how did you decide then maybe what type of comic to do, or what was maybe the main inspiration for this one?
So the comic that I work on now is called Cliques. And the inspiration originally was so about, man, like I said, like 2 or 3 months ago, I wanted to kind of like challenge myself, I guess, in a sense. And I've always wanted to get better at drawing like women anatomy and just women in general. And so I wanted to kind of do like my own little personal challenge. And I was drawing giving some type of like, I guess, woman drawing every single day. And it wasn't like super duper like detailed or like kind of sketchy lines, but I would color it or whatever. And I drew 4 like in particular. I mean, I drew more than that, but 4 in particular, a lot of people online liked the picture, and they would comment, and they asked me if there was a story or anything with these characters, and I was like, no.
Not yet.
yeah, exactly. I just did it for fun. And then eventually I started thinking about it, and then again, my wife had mentioned something that I should do something with him, and then my brother mentioned something because he was seeing it and he was like, "Man, this could be kind of cool." So I was like, "All right, I'll try it." And so then as I started to develop the story, which it centers around these 4 girls who are friends, and in a sense, for the most part, like what I kind of tell people is that they are kind of me, but split into 4 different personalities.
You're different parts of you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the main character, one of the main characters' name is Simone. The other one, his name is Maya. The other one name is Remy, and the last one is Brooke. And they each have, like I said, different personalities, which again are just mine split into 4 different ways, and it kind of just shows how they like cohabitate in the city where. They live in a city called Venus, which is guns aren't they're not in the city, but they're just extremely like regulated. So so for the most part, nobody has any except like the higher ups, like the government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So everyone in the city uses these things called which I call Saber edges, which are just like swords. So all different types of swords. So there's a funny aspect to it where it's like every day people can get into a sword fight over like, I don't know, stealing someone's parking space. Yeah. So like little like funny things like that, but then they end up finding out that there's a whole other like deeper and darker side to the city that they live in, which involves these saber edge weapons that they use. So that's kind of like a basic like premise of the story. And since then I've been kind of developing it, and I recently released the first chapter, the first part of it on my website. So
that's really
cool.
I've
been getting some pretty good feedback. So it's been pretty cool to kind of like finally start a story and kind of go through with it all the way to the end. Cause I have a really bad habit of like starting stories and never finishing them. So I was, it's pretty cool.
And you started with the characters, and then you developed the environment for them, right? So you were thinking like the accessories and these kind of things.
Yeah, it's been really fun and kind of hard as well, because like that's not my strong suit. Like I always get really excited to draw the characters, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. Like I love designing characters, and then when it comes to writing it and actually doing the story, I kind of just get bored, and then I move on to something else that gets me excited. So and my wife gets really tired because she has heard me start. She's heard me start, stop, and move on to like 7 different stories, and she's like, you gotta finish one, like so she didn't let me give up on this one. So.
Before we continue, let's thank our sponsors. If you are a digital artist, you will love AstroPad. AstroPad is an app that turns your iPad Pro into professional wireless graphics tablet for your Mac. I use it to work with Photoshop and Illustrator to create highly rendered artworks for my clients directly on my iPad. I was super excited to discover AstroPad because the painting apps available on iPad don't have all the functionality like Photoshop. With AstroPad, I can use all my favorite and custom-made Photoshop brushes, which is super cool. And because you are part of Outside of Life community, you will get an exclusive 10% discount on AstroPad Studio licenses. To get started, go to outsideoflife.com/AstroPad and enter the promo code ARTSIDE. Are you looking for a top quality print shop and online store to sell your art prints? Then you should definitely check out InPrint. InPrint has been helping artists print and sell gallery quality prints of their work all over the world for over a decade. Created by artists for artists. InPrint ensures that you as an artist get your artworks printed in the highest quality and you earn the highest percentage compared to the others in the industry. The online gallery at inprint.com is curated by the members, resulting in a beautiful and unique collection of work. Support your favorite artists, discover new ones, and start selling through your own gallery today. And because you are part of Outside of Life community, you will get a special 10% discount with the promo code ARTSIDE. Don't wait, visit outsideoflife.com/inprint and use promo code ARTSIDE. And now, let's go back to the interview. So what keeps you then motivated? Is it your wife or like kind of going on through things?
Yeah. She definitely helps. My wife, you know, my brother, certain friends I have, friends I met through a Facebook group that I've been a while back, who like I said, are still friends now. We talk a lot, pretty much like weekly. And we're always talking to each other about our different stories and things like that. So we're motivating each other to kind of like continue and finish our stories. So that's been like really helpful. And slowly, as like I actually took time aside and to work on it, I got really excited about the story itself and the world that I was building. So that that helped a lot with keeping me motivated to actually like finish it and now continue it.
Yeah. And do you have maybe advice for someone who is just starting out their own project, you know, how to keep motivated, you know, when you're like, oh, maybe this project will not be like super successful, or I don't know, and what will happen later, and so how do you keep on going?
For me, I definitely like look for like inspiration and stuff. So like one of my like big inspiration and just use for like reference, whether it's just drawing or just in general, is Pinterest. Pinterest has been really cool. Like there's so many like ways to find like really cool art and like references for like, you know, just getting better at art. I've found on there, so that's helped. It's given me a lot of really cool ideas for like character design and like clothing and things like that. So like I've definitely used that before. There's a couple books. I think they're back. They're probably back there. One of them is I think it's called Making Comics by Scott. I think it's Scott McCloud. Yeah, Making Comics by Scott McCloud. Sorry, I was trying to look back there.
No worries.
That's been a good one, and I've been like slowly working through that book, man. But that's been really cool. It helps like break down a lot with like just how a comic should flow and like following like the eye of the actual reader and everything like that. And so again, for me, like writing a story is always the hardest. So like I try my best to try to consume as much information as possible that can help me with that, even though it's still really difficult because again, I get super hype about drawing it. So yes.
And do you have some favorite books also for storytelling or other stuff, you know, like this world creation or stories, if you are already set on characters, because like, okay, that's my thing. And
Yeah. That book again has helped a lot with like developing like the actual story and stuff like that. As far as like books, like I don't know a whole lot. There's a couple that I want to get my hands on that I've heard have been really good for like, you know, writing and developing a story. I don't remember the exact names of them right now. One of them, I think a friend of mine texted me the other day to check out, and I think it was it's like a blue and black book. I think it's on Amazon. I think it's called like Making Manga and Comics.
We can put it maybe on the description afterwards, so we can figure it out and people can check it out.
yeah, definitely. I can give you the exact name because he texted it to me, but I don't have my phone here right now. But yeah, so that's been a pretty good one. And again, like YouTube, I found a couple really good videos. One channel in particular, which I can give you the name of the channel if you want to, link it or whatever. Now that's been really good for like developing like different characters and stories, or it's villains, rivals, and things like that. So that's been like really helpful. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. And what about then going also out? And do you have time to sketch people or see the interactions between them, for your characters, and so how to implement into your art?
And I want to do that more. I don't. I'll be honest, I don't leave my house a lot. I leave like not lately. Like I'm always working. I'm always drawing something. So most of the time, I'm in the house. So, but I do want to like do that more and actually get out. And usually like my wife will tell me like, okay, we need to get out the house because like like most of the time she's kind of here sitting right next to me as I'm working and kind of keeping me company. So like eventually I'm just like, all right, I've been in the house for like 4 or 5 days straight. I gotta go. Like so if I'm not like here, I'm either like at the gym and I'm back here. So yeah.
But that's good because then you need to exercise when we are sitting every day as an artist, right? So it's definitely good.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I'm sitting down for hours and hours is not good for you.
And do you have like a routine every day for, like how do you organize your time? Maybe how much do you draw? How much do you spend like organizing or other stuff?
For me, normally, so like for about, I would say probably the beginning of this year, because like the first year of me doing, like doing it freelance, I kind of was just like winging it, kind of just trying to figuring it out as I go. And, but I was like, at times I would like load up too much and I'd feel like, oh yeah, I can, now since I was working for myself, like I feel like, oh man, I have the whole day. I can do all this stuff in one day. And I would like overbook myself. And then when I couldn't get it accomplished, I, almost feel defeated. Like I didn't actually do anything, which wasn't good. So, I started, my wife suggested like getting like a planner. So I started getting a planner and like a calendar and like, actually like labeling out like, all right, I try my best to like wake up at, usually I'm up around like 8, around like 8 in the morning. Sometimes earlier, sometimes. And then from there, I usually might do like kind of figure out, look at my schedule, see what I actually want to do. Like maybe I have to cross some things out and reschedule some things, and then from there, kind of just follow it. I usually do like an hourly thing. So like from this time to this time, I might work on this particular commission, or I might work on my own stuff, or I might write or whatever I'm doing, or like answer emails and things like that, and then kind of work down the list and kind of do it until until the day is done. I'm usually up really late, so like I'm usually up to like 3 in the morning. So
oh wow.
Yeah, that's like kind of average for me. So yeah, I don't know.
And do you plan like also like a week or a month, for the projects? Like, okay, for this project I have like 7 days and then I don't sleep.
Yeah, I'm getting better at that part. Like sometimes setting like monthly like schedules. So like for example with the comic Cliques, I kind of like took a chance with it, and for the month of June, I didn't do commissions for the most part, and I worked on the comic to get it done, to get this certain part that I really wanted to get completed. So for that, yeah, I definitely, like I said, like, all right, hey, from this date to this date, I'm going to get the thumbnails done. From this date to this date, I'm going to get the inks done. From this date to this date, I'm going to get the flats and the colors and everything else done, and then do the text and everything like that. So, but I've been learning and using that a little bit more as far as like setting like monthly goals and like goals I want to accomplish by a certain time of the year, to kind of just always keep myself on track. Because like again, like doing commissions and everything is fun, but like it can become routine, and like I don't want to do commissions forever. So like I want to eventually be able to make a living off of doing and creating my own personal projects. So like, you kind of have to create a plan in order for that to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if you want to have more books or more other products, and then you have your own community which you can talk to. And so how was it for you when you were deciding on the comic book, like how to publish it? Because there is like a lot of different ways, right? You can find the publisher, you can have it on the website. So what was your thinking process, or how did you do your research about that?
So I did a lot of research first. Right now, actually, it's just a digital download. So because I mean, yeah, paying to print it is pretty expensive. So yeah, definitely. I want to do eventually get into like maybe publishing or doing more so self-publishing. Um, unless someone comes along the line, comes along and maybe very interested in publishing the book, and I can kind of see how that goes detail wise. And I'm still doing my research and learning about that part of it. But for right now, it's just a digital download, and if anything, it'd probably be self-published. So I have been slowly doing some research about that, and again, more YouTube videos. Like I watched a lot. Actually, I think it was one of the interviews that you actually did as well, where I've heard a couple artists talk about like self-publishing and how you can do it and stuff like that. So like those are really helpful.
Oh, really cool. I'm glad that it's helpful. So, yeah, super cool. Because, yeah, because I haven't published a book either. So, for me, these kind of things is like, oh, yeah, this is like cool. I can learn from this. And, yeah, so there is always something new.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what? Yeah, sorry.
No, so I know there's also a couple other websites too when it comes to like printing your own stuff and things like that with like one I've known a couple of my friends use was Kablam, I think it is. As far as like getting your stuff printed and things like that. And there's a bunch of like online websites that can do that as far as like printing. I know Amazon, I believe, has
like on
a system
printing.
Yeah, like have like a setup as far as like getting your own stuff printed, and makes it easier for the the user to be able to buy it. And it may be one of those things where it's like kind of like a by order, so like they print it or printed by order or whatever. But again, those are just ways so that again, I know for up and coming artists, we may not have that much money, so these type of like companies really kind of help in that. I think like in that area as far as like self-publishing and stuff like that. So those are some options, but I'll have to see how it goes. Right now, it's like I'm just trying to focus on like staying motivated and getting the comic completed, and then or getting to a certain part of the comic where I do want to get it printed and then go from there.
Yeah. Do you go also for like festivals or somewhere where you want to, promote the comic book when you finish it or your current artworks?
Oh, yeah. So like cons. So I just started going to them. My first con was actually like a couple years ago, and I've only been to like one or two. So like, yeah, that's like again, that's like another like plan for like the future, like for next year is like I want to go to a couple different cons that I have in mind. So I've been like slowly planning like, okay, I'm gonna go to this one and this one, and I'm gonna map it out. Like this is what I want to have when I go there and everything like that. So like, yeah, those are definitely like things I want to do in the future as far as like not only helping promote the comic, but just promote myself as like, as an artist and things like that. So yeah, so
which one did you choose then?
So for next year, definitely one that I want to go to is one that's not too far from me. I live in Florida, so there's one a little bit further south from where I'm at called SuperCon. So that's definitely one I want to go to. I was gonna do it this year, and I had it that was like the one con I was gonna do. I was like, if I don't do any other cons, that's the one I'm gonna do because I've been to it enough. So I kind of like I know what the con was like, kind of how the flow of the con is, and like what it looks like and everything. I'm familiar with it already. But this same weekend that the con is, one of my best friends got married, and I was in the wedding.
Yeah. So you cannot avoid that.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, man. I was like, I'll do this for you, but don't like. I was like, anybody else. I was like, any of my other friends, I'm getting married. I don't care. Like, I'm doing this con next year. So.
Or you could have done the wedding, move to con.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
would be themed wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have been cool. So
you are going to have a table there as well then next year?
Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, I definitely want to do that con. There's another one I was thinking about doing called MegaCon, and there's one in Georgia that I kind of had my eye on called MomoCon as well. Yeah. So those are just like definitely a couple like in my area that won't be too much to do as far as like traveling and stuff like that. Because I know that can get kind of pricey as well. So like trying to make like the smartest decisions, with the budget that I have and everything. So
yeah, definitely. And then you are creating some artworks you will have a comic book, and then you will print some artworks, maybe some pins or something like that. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I have definitely have some ideas for like fan art that I want to do. like like some like my favorite animes and some of my favorite comics and stuff like that. So I know people that kind of like usually like when I see it at cons is like that's what attracts people. It's like when they see the fan art because like they already recognize those characters, and then they come to your table and then like you may be able to kind of like hey talk to them, kind of show them like your actual original stories and stuff like that. That they may become interested in it and stuff like. So that's kind of like my plan.
That's a really good plan. I'm looking forward to see more of that because that sounds exciting.
Thank you, thank you.
And so when you are creating your artworks, what is your art process? If you can take us through some of your like biggest steps, like how do you do your research? You mentioned the Pinterest, and then do you do like thumbnails or sketches, and then you go to color and stuff? So if
Okay.
you can talk a bit that.
Yeah, so I use mostly my iPad here. I have a Wacom tablet as well. So normally, if it's like if I'm working on something, like normally I'll sketch it out first, or if it's like a particular character that I have in mind, I usually kind of like I'll get like references. So like I'll like search online for like different things as far as like if I'm trying to understand the character, I'm like okay he's gonna be he or she's gonna look like this and this is their type of personality and like this is the background that they have, so they'll probably be wearing this or whatever. So I'll like find like a bunch of references to kind of like get some ideas, and usually I'll kind of like start doing some little thumbnails and sketches. And then from there, like I'll take that and I'll develop it and make like a more detailed sketch. One thing that a couple people have like, even in like my Instagram and stuff like that have noticed is that normally when I sketch, I use different color lines.
Yeah.
So, which makes it just easier for me to like see. I don't know, like the differences between like pieces of clothing like that I'm drawing or like different pieces of like, if that person has like equipment or something like that. So I use different colors like to kind of like make it easier to identify what I'm drawing. And then from there, I'll ink it and then I'll color it. So that's usually the process.
And do you like time yourself? Like, okay, I can spend this much time on, I don't know, like this character or this page.
Yeah, I try to. I don't always follow it. Like normally, like my the person that checks me for that is my wife. So like if I'm like, I'll set like a time, and be like, all right, I'm gonna be done with this by I don't know in 2 or 3 hours, and that usually doesn't happen because I get distracted.
Yeah, because also when you do commissions, right? Because you set the price, so you need to kind of know like how much time you will spend on it. And if you spend much more time, then basically you get paid less because it's still the same price, right?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the times, what sometimes can prolong the process is because you may be going back and forth with the client, and just saying, hey, because a lot of the times to try to minimize the amount of changes that I may have to make if I'm working for someone. I send them an updated sketch and be like, hey, do you like this? And they may have changes and stuff like that. So from there, I may have to go back and re-edit things or redraw stuff. So that can like again prolong it, until I actually complete it. And then from there, I can ink it, then color it, and then finish it up. So sometimes, like I say, it can take a lot longer than I expected, which again throws off my schedule. But that kind of comes with the territory, I think.
It's different, yeah. Because I was just talking with some of the artists now as well on Instagram. We were discussing some of the commission versus the client work. Because with the client work as a company, you always have a contract. You have the set amount of hours. I don't know what. So how do you do it? Maybe with the commissions, do you have a contract or maybe just an email? Do you include like I don't know? You have 2 revisions and you will get sketch, or how is your process?
Normally for me, so like I've only done this year, I've done like 2 or 3, I guess client work, actual like contracts and stuff like that. So those, weren't too bad. Those are pretty like, pretty easy. For like commissions, normally I'll like, let that person know like, hey, after this certain stage of the drawing, if there's any changes, I gotta charge you. So I gotta, and that's why normally before then I try to send a good amount of like updates. So like I'll send them, I may sometimes for some people I'll even send them a pose like, hey, like this is the composition of the picture. Like this is where everything's gonna be set at. Do you like that? And then from there I may go and say, do a detailed sketch where I'm actually showing you what the person looks like or whatever the character or whatever the picture is. And then ask for their approval with that to see if they like that. And then from there I let them know like, hey, this is the stage. Like if you have any changes, Tell me right now, while it's still in a sketch, because it's it's a lot easier to be able to erase and redraw things versus after you've already inked it or something and you colored it and you put all the details and then people ask you like, oh, hey, can you change this? And
Can you move the arm?
Yeah. And man, sometimes that can be so frustrating. So like, at that point I have to charge because I'm like, all right, you've already approved it before, so why are you changing it now? Yeah. Like that's kind of going back, and now I again, it's like it's commission based, so it's time, so if I'm spending more time on this than expected, I'm like I said, I'm losing money, so I got bills too, so
yeah, because it's like every other service basically, and the only difference is that it's our hobby too, so
yeah, and I think sometimes that's like the biggest thing, and I know for a lot of artists that's so like annoying because like it's like we're artists, but it's like I know this is my hobby and I love to draw, but it's like if this is my job, like you got to kind of respect that too. It's like if you had a plumber or something like that and you made it like, or I don't know, like a construction person, you made like, oh hey, last minute, hey, can you add on this part? They're gonna charge you for it, so that's the same thing. Exactly. It's the same mindset that an artist has. It's like, if you want to add something or if you want us to change something last minute, we have to charge you for it, and that's you have to kind of like respect that. And I think a lot of times people don't do that. I don't know why, but
but it's good to define it before you start working, right? So the person has the right expectations. And do you also talk about the colors before you start the sketch, or do you tell them like at the end, or you or they send you like a color palette?
Normally, I always ask the person, for a description. Like if you already have something in mind, along with I ask for reference pictures, things like that, specific things that you may have for this picture or for the character. Because a lot of the stuff that I do is very much character based. So like people may contact me to draw something that, or like, oh hey, can you draw me? I don't know, draw me as like this anime character or draw me as this, I don't know, comic book character, or they might have an original character. And from there, I might ask them for like reference pictures, a description. So give me something to go off of so I'm not just like drawing aimlessly. And then from there, if they have any specific colors, again, I ask for all of that. And if they don't, I kind of just, again, I take it slow, and I'll give them like updates and like, hey, do you like this? And then, like, hey, any changes? And for most part, people are pretty cool about it. And they'll let me know if they have any changes. And if they don't, then I kind of just keep going.
Yeah, exactly, because it's also like really good to hear like how different people do these commissions, because if someone wants to start and they don't know like where to even start, like do I charge before, do I charge like half before, or everything at the end, and it's like
I normally I charge half and half. So like and a couple artists have like have emailed me or like messaged me and asked me like how to go about charging, and the first thing I always say is that to respect your time. Like we work really hard, to even get, to the level that you're at. And some artists, I think, and even myself, when I was definitely, even before I even quit my job and was doing it full time, I think sometimes artists undersell themselves and undercharge because maybe they may feel like they don't deserve it or something, or, they may not get as many commissions because somebody might say it's too expensive. And I don't know. I kind of learned that like I respect my time. I respect the amount of time I put into my craft. So if you don't like those prices, then okay, all right, you have to keep, that's fine.
Because you need the art tools. You also, as we talked about, the paying bills, and also in US the schools are expensive. If you went to art school, then that's crazy.
Exactly. So I definitely charge half and half up front, and then after the work is completed, I collect the second half. So that's normally how I do my commissions.
And do you have like a favorite artwork you did in the past? Something really memorable, which maybe because of the time of your life or because of the artwork?
I would probably have to say that comic. I know, I know that's like, oh man, it's like I'm just trying to push it out there, but no, that meant a lot for me. Like, even though it's like I was afraid to even put it out for sale, because I was thinking like, oh man, nobody knows me like that. They see my Instagram and they see my artwork, but is anybody going to really draw, or really anybody going to really buy a story that I put together? Like, is anybody going to care? And it was really cool to finally be able to start something That was an idea that I had in my head, put it down on paper, create it, and then put it out there for the world. So that meant a lot for me. So as of lately, that's probably been one of like the coolest things that I've drawn. As far as like commissions and stuff, I get a lot of cool commissions. Some of them are kind of, I don't know, weird. Not what I would, I guess, draw or like want to draw sometimes, but I get some pretty cool commissions. Trying to think of anything in particular.
But if nothing comes to mind, then it's more than the comic book, which is awesome. And if you think about then in the future, you know, what would be your dream scenario in like 5 to 10 years? You know, everything goes according to your plan and everything is awesome. And also, like, what would you like to be remembered for in 100 years?
Oh man, 5-10 years, it'd be completely to be able to draw and of course take care of like my basic needs and be able to make a living off of my own brand and my own stories and creations and stuff like that I have and that's pretty much what I would like to be remembered for. If I can make a living off of something that I love to do, which is to be able to create, man, that's good for me. That's all I need. Yeah.
That would be super cool because then you can inspire more people with your stories and characters. So that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
that's really cool. And before we finish, maybe you can share last piece of advice or key takeaway, what people should remember from this conversation, and then we'll slowly finish.
All right, I'll say because I get this question sometimes as far as like from like different artists who ask me for like advice and stuff, and the main thing I would say is that to keep going. One, to not compare yourself to anyone else that you may see online, because I know that can be like discouraging sometimes. So like oh man, like their art's so good and like I want to be on their level. Take your time. You're gonna get there eventually, but you gotta keep going. You gotta stay hungry and you have to work for it. That person that you're looking at didn't get there overnight, so you kind of have to like respect that and understand that it's gonna take time, but you're gonna get there. So definitely, that, and just have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's still something that we love to do. So, don't get caught up in everything else, have fun.
Yeah. So keep going and don't give up, right? So even when it gets harder or whatever. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you so much again for being here. It was super nice.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. And I'm really happy that you share all these tips and insights for anyone who wants to try maybe first time the commissions or quitting job and going to freelance. So many awesome tips. So thank you again. And thanks everyone who was watching or listening, and see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Peace.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I would be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!